So welcome. And good day, good morning, or afternoon, or evening, wherever you are. And I welcome you to this fourth day of a brief exploration of the six sense spheres, the avenues for our experience of everything that happens in our lives. And I'm hoping that looking at each of them in turn this week will kind of emphasize how important it is to be aware of our mind's relationship to each of the physical senses and to investigate that relationship as part of our path. It's really useful. Are we tied, to the experiences of seeing, hearing, tasting, smelling, sensing in ways that limit us, in ways that keep us stuck, keep us bound? So is this sixth sense, the mind, is it relating to the physical sense contact in a wholesome, helpful way, or is it reactive? Is it grasping? Is it pushing away? It's in the relationship of the mind to what happens that obstacles arise in our, in our lives, in our minds, in our practice, in our relationship to the world. And when that relationship is free of greed and aversion and delusion, then that's where freedom is found. So it's essential. And today the focus is going to be on the sense of touch. That is what we call the tactile sense, the way the whole body and all its individual parts sense touch, from the most subtle sense of air, moving against the skin, to the strongest sensations of pleasure and pain. So sensation on the surface of the body, and also sensation generated from within the body. And we often just use the shorthand sensation for this kind of sensing, although all the senses uh, experience some kind of a sensation, literally. But I think the fact that we use the word sensation for the tactile sense maybe points to how much space it takes up in the world of the senses. And I have the sense, meaning something different by sense here, I have the view that the sensations of the body and the activities of the mind are probably also the area of physical experience where we're most likely to attach a sense of self. I think it's probably easier to recognize seeing, hearing, taste, smell as processes that go on kind of automatically, to see the ways that the mind takes possession of them in a way, and then to kind of parse it out, to separate the appearances from the recognition, the nama from the rupa, in those other four physical senses. Maybe it's just my own perception, but it seems like the mind is more likely to take the tactile sensations in the body personally. They belong to me. They're my sensations. We don't usually speak about my sights or my sounds or tastes or smells, but what we see and what we see and hear, we don't think of as defining us in some way. But the relationship between the body and the sensations that occur in it and to it, they're kind of harder to separate. I think it's really easy to conflate a pain in our back with a sense of self. I'm a person with back pain. I'm a person whose back hurts. It's me. It's about me. And if that's the case, it makes sense to really make a lot of effort, significant effort, to recognize the distinction between what's happening in the physical body, the actual sensations, and and the and the and the body that it arises in. Noticing the sensations, knowing it's the body that's feeling the sensations, and and then maybe we can see the fetters the knots, the attachments that arise in dependence on the two, including that sense of possession and identification with both the pains and the pleasures of the body. Sensations arise in the body. They are not the body itself, and the body is not me. So in our meditation today, I'll invite you to attend to sensations in the body as they arise, noticing how they appear and after a while they disappear. In meditation with our eyes closed and our focused inward, we can tune into bodily sensations more closely than when we're kind of in the midst of daily interaction with other people. This river of experience, the flow of experience that is our lives, it can become quite simple, a flow of sensation, and often accompanied by mental activity, of course. So let's begin the meditation by, as always, taking a comfortable meditation posture with that balance of alertness, uprightness, and ease, no straining. Awake and at ease. Just ready to receive what arises in the body and in the mind. Ready to be present. And just feeling into what it's like to be sitting or lying down right now. The sense of the shape that the body is taking, how the limbs are arrayed in space. Kind of a global sense of what it feels like to be just in the posture that you're in right now. The contact with whatever your body is resting on, whether it's a chair or a couch or a bed or a floor cushion. You're probably in a familiar posture, maybe the same posture you take every time you meditate. Just kind of settling into that and being aware of how it feels, what the sensations are, what the kind of overall, the sort of gestalt, the overall feeling of what is it like to be in this posture. And as usual, if there's tension somewhere in the body, you might take a few deep breaths and just let the in-breath move into the area of tightness or tension, and let the out-breath just calm the body. Just let the tension flow out with the breath. Just a few breaths like that. Finding some ease in the body, just being here in a very, very simple way. And spending a little bit of time with the sensations of breathing. Just invite you to follow the sensations from where the cool air enters the nostrils, right down through the soft palate, the back of the throat, down the windpipe, into the lungs, inflating the lungs, expanding them, pushing the rib cage out a little bit. As the breath goes all the way down to the bottom of the lungs and the belly expands, feeling that. And then the sensations of the breath as it leaves the body. Noticing how the belly contracts and the chest falls. And that sense of warmth as the air that's been warmed by the body comes up the windpipe and back out the nostrils. It's a cycle. It happens so many times every day. And there are sensations all along the pathway. And now I just invite you to open your awareness to receive all the other sensations that are arising in the body as we sit here. Maybe sensations on the outside of the body, coolness of the skin or warmth, depending on what the temperature of the air is. The sense of clothing touching the skin in different places. Maybe tingling or pulsation in your hands or other areas, your arms, your face, your lips. Maybe there's discomfort somewhere. Maybe there's pleasant sensation arising just due to being in meditation. Sensations are arising in the body all the time, and we can know them. They can be known receptively, very simply. very simply. And of course, there can be mental activity accompanying the sensations. Maybe there's just a simple knowing. This is tingling. This is warmth. This is an aching. This is the breath. This is an itch. Just simple. Or maybe there is some kind of hook, a fetter, wanting the breath to be more even, pushing away an ache, wanting me to be quiet, wanting something to happen, some deepening, some samadhi to develop. Just notice how the mind relates to the sensations. Does it try to make them my sensations? Sensations that say something about me. Just notice and see if you can just let that go. Just let it go. It's whatever is arising in the body, and whatever the mental relationship is to it, just know it for now, just as simply as possible. If there's a hook, just know it. Don't need to try to let go of it. Just know it. Be simple, sensing what's arising, sensations, mental activity, knowing them directly. So now take any ease and a sense of peace and calm that has developed, that you've cultivated during this period of meditation, and offer it outward to others, maybe all the others who are joining the sit today, and all the others who aren't, everywhere throughout the world. With a wish that all beings everywhere have the strength and balance to meet their lives in a wise way. That they be safe, that they be happy and healthy, and that one day all beings everywhere may be free. So welcome again. And this week we're looking at all the ways that our relationship to 6 sense spheres, our world, can either get in the way of the deep, clear seeing that's needed for insight, or can actually support the cultivation of that deep, clear seeing. And today I'm going to talk about the 5th sense in this list, the body itself, and the tactile sense, a sense of touch. The body, there's so many complex processes that are going on constantly, all the time. The body is a kind of vast field of sensations arising all the time. And we can have an itch in an arm, and a pain in the knee, and a delightful tingly sensation in our chest, all at the same time. Sensations can be vague, they can be precise, they can be easy to locate, or they can feel kind of diffuse, hard to pin down. There are the subtle sensations of breathing that we spend a lot of time, many of us do anyways, attending to in our practice. And then the many grosser sensations of movement that we feel as we move through the world, as we act. And all the ways that we receive tactile sensations give rise to slightly different sensations in different areas, and they're all accompanied by some kind of mental activity. Recognizing, defining, approving, enjoying, resenting, ignoring, wanting more of, wishing would stop, etc., etc. It goes on. And the instruction in the texts is to notice, is there a fetter here? Is there something in the relationship between the sensation and the sensing that is pulling us toward more craving and clinging, or in the opposite direction, toward more wholesome states? So the fetters, it's not a fetter if it's pulling us in the opposite direction. It's just a mind, an activity of mind that's not fettering us, not tying us down. So the fetters that arise are they're just as varied and numerous as the possible kinds of sensations. There's so many flavors of of aversion, ill will, greed, desire. There's so many flavors. And there is that sense of taking possession of a self, and so which kinds of sensations do we experience that are most likely to lead to that kind of attachment, taking to self? And I think pain is definitely one. Physical pain, especially if it's kind of constant, chronic, we can question the sense, my pain, that can arise when we feel pain, especially ongoing pain. What if it is just pain, just pain, just pain? Simply what's arising in the same way as the touch of our clothing, the touch of wind on our skin. There's no meaning attached to it, no taking possession of it. MBSR, mindfulness-based stress reduction, was really initially invented for just this kind of situation, to learn a new relationship to physical pain. And when we're able to sense different sensations, whether they're painful or pleasurable, without reactivity, without creating stories about what they mean, about making them mine, we can find more balance with them. We can be present with them without adding any kind of unnecessary stress, without giving rise to dukkha. And of course, at the opposite end of the sensation spectrum, there is pleasure, maybe the kind of pleasure that comes from the exhilaration of physical exercise, or the texture of a food we really like, the touch of someone we love, sexual pleasure. Strong pleasure is also an area where the mind likes to create meaning and to take possession, where the attachment to the pleasure as mine, or something that defines me, that can show up really easily in that kind of situation. So craving for pleasure is one of the most powerful fetters that arise in us. I think it's can pleasure just be pleasure, something enjoyed, recognized as transient, coming due to conditions, passing away when conditions change. Even the desire for simple comfort can be a fetter, It can keep our choices narrow, confined, making us overcautious. It's good to explore, just to inquire. And there are, of course, sensations of either both difficult and pleasurable that kind of ask us to act, especially on the difficult side, sensations that tell us that we're too close to a fire or a hot stove, the example that's often used, or that our nose is in danger of freezing, if we're somewhere that it's really cold. We act to protect the body's integrity. The sensations that are symptomatic of some kind of illness, health change, or some kind of an injury, we need to use our minds to discern, is this something that needs further exploration, or is it just a passing experience? But we can also relate to these kinds of sensations in unskillful ways, of course. Even if there is something that we need to take action about, we can catastrophize, we can move into paralysis, unrealistic fear, denial. All those things are fetters, they add mental stress to what is already difficult, painful. The craving for bodily pleasure, of course, is something that human beings have been driven by for as long as we've existed. There's a biological imperative behind some of our sense desires related to the body. And we do know that the mental states that arise in dependence on desire for bodily pleasure, they can really get us into trouble. They can cloud our vision. Every human being who is older than 20 has been a teenager, just by definition, dragged around often by sense desires related to the body. And many people have experienced the dukkha of addiction, craving, physical craving for pleasure so strong that we seem powerless in its presence, often based on that physical craving. Some particular sensations that we want to have arise, as well as cravings for tastes and aromas, which I spoke of yesterday. And the Buddha gave teachings that can help us get more clarity when we're in the grip of some desire that has arisen, along with bodily sensation, or with the desire for some particular bodily sensation to arise. He described his own practice with the six sense bases when he experienced pleasure as a result of any sense contact, seeing, hearing, feeling, whatever sense contact it was. He investigated it in terms of its gratification, danger, and escape. Maybe you've heard this teaching before. The gratification, of course, can be the pleasantness of the sensation itself, or it can be the mental activity that arises in dependence on the sensations. And then the danger is what the pleasure can lead to. Clinging to this pleasure, clinging to something that is impermanent, that cannot provide lasting satisfaction, knowing that, okay, this is the danger of this. This is not going to last. Craving to bring it back again when it goes. That's a fetter. And the escape comes with letting go of the attachment to the pleasure. And the Buddha stated that he had to be really clear about the gratification and the danger in order to have the escape. That's really important to keep that in mind. It takes time to get clear about what is it we actually are, feeling gratification in this situation, and what's the danger. It takes time. But when we use our discernment to see what it is that hooks us in the realm of the senses, then we are gaining wisdom. We're moving in the direction of the escape. So I'm going to share a story about myself here. As a teenager, I began smoking cigarettes. And my parents both smoked. I'm not blaming them, but the fact that they did was a condition for curiosity in me, for the desire to experiment. It was kind of a familiar thing. And it wasn't too long after I started before I was addicted to smoking. And I smoked for about 10 years, quitting a couple times during that period, but always pulled back by the desire to feel a particular kind of pleasure in the back of my throat as I inhaled the smoke. I can still remember that sense, the feeling of that pleasure. And then I saw this little paperback book. I can't remember the title, but it was about giving up bad habits in general. And the technique that it described was right in line with the Buddha's teachings about the gratification, the danger, and the escape. And of course, I didn't know that at the time. And the idea was to make a list of all the things that you didn't like about your bad habit. the danger. And I made a very long list about things, of things that I didn't like about smoking. And the instruction was to read that every day, every time you were tempted to engage in the bad habit. And I did that. I noticed that if I just hung with the desire for a cigarette without giving into it, it would pass. That was a revelation. The craving was impermanent, not that I defined it in that way. Then, of course, as time went on, the sense of danger grew in me and the desire gradually ebbed. I never smoked again after going through that practice, except in my dreams sometimes, and I would wake up feeling guilty. But I had made a final escape from the craving to smoke. And I think that technique can be a really useful way of working with strong desires that we know are obstructing our ease, getting in the way of seeing clearly. Listing all the ways the desire doesn't serve us, all the dangers that are in the habit, all the ways that it disturbs our peace and gives rise to dukkha. When the obstacles in our minds and hearts to moving in a healthy direction are strong, then we need to remind ourselves, often, again and again, of the danger before we're really going to believe it, really take it on. But when it's very clear, I really believe escape will come. And first we have to know the gratification. So, in our practice of meditation, as samadhi develops, there can be really beautiful, delightful sensations in the body, filling the entire body. And they're a really beautiful part of the path, a lovely part, wholesome, arising due to the practice itself. And we can enjoy those. We can encourage their continuation, their onward leading. But if we begin to cling to them, that clinging, it becomes a fetter. It is a fetter. As meditation deepens further, as samadhi really deepens, the equanimity that arises isn't characterized by pleasant bodily feeling. It's sublimely peaceful, but the bodily experience is neutral. So clinging to the pleasure of samadhi, it can actually create a kind of a roadblock, obstructing our progress towards the deep equanimity that leads to insight. So these 5 physical senses are ways that we perceive the world. And the final sense, the mind and its activity, is where the conceiving happens. And that's the biggie. And remember, in any moment, there are only 2 things happening. There is what is happening, and there's how we relate to what's happening. And the activities of the mind are how we relate to what's happening. So that will be our topic for tomorrow. The place where the fetters really get going. So I hope you have a lovely day, and I look forward to seeing you tomorrow. Thank you for your attention.